Chapter 1: The Spoils of War. Blood. Smoke. It filled my nose, clogged my throat, coated my skin. My ears rang with the screams of my pack. My people, as they were slaughtered like cattle. The air reeked of scorched fur, burnt earth, and the bitter tang of defeat. I couldn't move, not because I was afraid, but because my leg was broken, snapped clean in the fall from the ridge. I tried to buy time for the others. Foolish. They were dead now, all of them, and I couldn't even lift my own weight off the mud. Footsteps approached, heavy, measured, military, not the frantic scrabble of survivors. No, this was confidence. This was conquest. I lifted my face, blood smearing across my cheek as I glared up. Black armor, crimson sash, silver pauldrons shaped like wolf jaws. The warlord, the one they called General Blackthorn, the alpha who turned packs to dust with a single order. He stopped in front of me and tilted his head, slowly, curiously, like a predator watching a dying deer flail. My lip curled. "Come to gloat, asshole?" His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. Too sharp. Too empty. "You're Elias Vale, Omega heir to Moonfong," he said, voice as deep as a thunderclap. You wiped the name clean off the map." I spat. "I know, that's why you belong to me now," he said calmly. I tried to shift, tried to run, bite, die, anything but this, but the second I moved, pain exploded down my spine. My vision tunneled. He crouched beside me, armor creaking. "Don't bother, the leg's shattered. You won't be walking anywhere," he said. "Then kill me, do it. Right here." I snarled. He didn't even blink. Instead, he reached out and touched my cheek. I flinched, but it was too late. His fingers were already there, cold gauntlet against my skin. The gesture would have been tender if it hadn't been him, if he hadn't burned my world to the ground hours ago. "I've waited a long time for you," he said almost softly. My breath hitched. Something in his eyes flickered. Not pity, not hunger, something worse. Possession. "Take him," he ordered. 2 soldiers grabbed my arms. I screamed. The pain shot through me like fire, but I didn't stop thrashing. He followed behind, silent as they dragged me like meat through the ruined forest. I didn't stop cursing him. Didn't stop promising I'd kill him if it was the last thing I did. He didn't respond once. Not even a glance. But I caught the look in his eyes when I called him monster. It wasn't anger. It was longing. They didn't throw me into a cage. No, that would have made too much sense. Instead, I was tossed onto silk sheets. A sprawling bedroom inside a stone fortress. Warm fire. Food on a tray. Pillows. Luxury. Insult. The door slammed shut. I was alone, but I knew better. The walls had ears, and he was probably behind one of them. I sat up slowly, ignoring the way my body screamed at me. My leg had been splinted, I realized. Wrapped and bound. By a healer? Why bother keeping me alive? I crawled to the mirror, dragging myself like an animal. When I looked up, I barely recognized what I saw. Blood crusted in my silver hair. Bruises blooming across my chest. Collarbone fractured. Eyes hollow. But my scent, fuck, it was changing. I pressed both hands to the floor and breathed through my teeth. Heat. It was coming. Not now. Not now, not now, not. The door creaked. I spun, fangs bared. He stood there, General Rowan Blackthorn, towering in the doorway, watching me like I was something he'd already claimed. "You're entering preheat," he said. "No shit," I rasped. "I had the room prepared." "Oh, how generous." Rape silk and snacks. That earned a flicker of something in his face. Regret? Anger? I didn't care. "I won't force you, not unless the blood moon rises before you give in," he said, voice suddenly low. "What the hell are you talking about?" He stepped closer. "You don't remember me, do you?" "What?" He knelt in front of me, not touching. "Not yet. You once found a wounded boy in the woods. You gave him berries. You washed his bleeding arm. You wrapped his injuries with your own clothes. You asked him if he was lost." My throat closed up. I was that boy. I stared at him. "No, I said. You asked for my name. I told you I had none. That was years ago. I never forgot you, he whispered. I wanted to scream. Instead, I whispered, so you burned my pack to the ground? For what? Gratitude. No, because I swore no one else would ever touch you, he said. Chapter 2, Feral Heat. My body was a traitor. I could feel it in the way my skin itched under silk sheets, in the heat pooling between my legs, the sudden awareness of my scent, the unbearable throbbing under my skin. It hadn't even been a full day since I was dragged out of the mud, but the signs were already there. Heat, my heat, and it was coming early. Too early. They'd done this. He had done this. Bastard. I hissed under my breath, clawing at the thin fabric clinging to my skin. I didn't want comfort. I didn't want food. I wanted out. Away. But I couldn't run. Couldn't fight. All I could do was sweat and shake while the fire spread lower and lower. The scent in the room was changing. Pheromones thickening the air like invisible smoke. The more I tried to control it, the worse it got. My body betrayed every thought, every ounce of hatred. I crawled to the corner and curled in on myself. Focus. Control it. Control it. You're not an animal. But the world was tilting. My vision blurred. The ache between my thighs became unbearable. I wanted to scream. Instead, the door opened again. And this time, I didn't even lift my head. I knew that scent. Sharp pine. Iron. Control. Rowan. Don't you fucking come near me, I whispered. I could hear him breathing. I mean it, I'll kill you, I said again, louder. I believe you. That voice again. Calm. Cold. Too calm. Footsteps moved closer, but not all the way. He was giving me space. Like that mattered. You accelerated it. You did something. I growled. No, it's the blood moon, Rowan said. I finally looked at him. He wasn't wearing armor now. Just black sleeves rolled to his elbows. His hair was wet, clean. His jaw was sharp and shadowed like always. But he looked tired. Not that I gave a shit. The blood moon amplifies primal instincts, especially for Omegas. And when you're unbonded, the heat comes faster, stronger. He said, Good. Maybe I'll die from it. I snarled. You won't. Then kill me now. I won't. He walked over to the table, lifted something. A vial. Suppressants. He turned, holding it up. Take it. I stared. What's the catch? No catch. I didn't believe him, but I wanted to. Why? I whispered. Because I don't want to touch you like this, not when it's the heat talking, he said. That knocked the wind out of me. A monster with a line he wouldn't cross? I didn't move, didn't reach for it. He sighed and set it on the nightstand, right within reach. You'll last another few hours before it fully hits. Maybe more if you resist it. Don't pretend you're doing me a favor. He turned his back to me, not walking out, just standing there, silent. You didn't have to burn my family alive to get into my bed. You could have just waited for me to go into heat and grabbed me off the road like a fucking predator. I snapped. He didn't answer. Instead, he said quietly, I thought you'd be dead. I froze. What? That day. In the woods. When I left, I thought someone would find out you helped an outsider. That they'd punish you. They did, I said. The room went still. I was 8, and they made me scrub the training yard with bloody hands. On my knees. For an hour. I continued. Don't say you're sorry. I'm not. I just wanted to see what you'd do. I was already obsessed with you, he said. Couldn't breathe. You were just a kid, I whispered. So were you, but I saw what I wanted, he said. Congratulations. You ruined it. He turned his head. Just enough for me to see the pain on his face. And something else. Hunger. You still smell like that forest, he murmured. I grabbed the suppressants and hurled them at his chest. The glass shattered. He didn't flinch. Get the fuck out of my room. I will, but when the blood moon rises tonight. If you haven't taken the dose, and your heat overtakes you, he said. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. You'll be mine. The door closed behind him. and I screamed into my hands. Chapter 3: Aftermath and Chains. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The scent of suppressants still clung to the air, even though I shattered the vial hours ago. The shattered glass had already been cleaned while I was passed out on the floor, because that's where I'd ended up. On my stomach, sweat-soaked and half-naked, panting through gritted teeth while every nerve in my body screamed want. I hated it. I hated him more. I crawled into the shower and turned the water to freezing. Let it beat down on me until my skin went numb and my breath came in ragged gasps. I needed to feel something besides this twisting fire inside me. I needed to remember who I was. I was Elias Vale, son of Alpha Kalen Vale, heir to Moonfong, and I would not break. Not for him. Not for heat. Not even if it killed me. Evening came. The sky outside the tall window burned red. The blood moon was rising. I could feel it in my bones, thick like fog, wrapping around my body, dragging me under. My scent was everywhere now, clinging to the walls, the sheets, my skin. And still no one came. That was worse than if Rowan had barged in and ripped my clothes off. Because he wasn't forcing anything. He was waiting for me to become the thing he knew I'd hate myself for. I gritted my teeth and curled into a corner again, nails scratching at my arms just to focus. The door opened sometime after sunset. I didn't even lift my head. "I told you to get the fuck out," I croaked. "I did," Rowan said. I opened my eyes. He was standing just inside the door, still dressed down, sleeves rolled. He looked like he hadn't slept either. I turned away. "Why are you here?" "I wanted to see if you took the suppressants." "You already know I didn't." Silence. I could hear his breathing. Controlled. Tight. I couldn't see his face, but I felt him watching me. I knew what he saw. Sweat. Dilated pupils. My thighs trembling. My scent probably wrapped around his lungs by now. And still, he didn't move closer. I hated him for it. "Touch me just so I can bite your goddamn throat out." But I couldn't say it. Couldn't say anything. He stepped forward once. I flinched. "Don't," I whispered. He stopped. "I'm not going to touch you." "Why not? Isn't this what you wanted?" Me on my knees, begging like a bitch in heat. I snapped, voice cracking. Rowan's voice was a whisper. "No. Liar. I wanted you to choose me." A sharp, bitter laugh escaped my lips. "You think any of this is a choice?" "No, but I'm trying to give you one anyway," he said. I turned to face him, rage igniting behind my eyes. "You burned down my home. You dragged me across the battlefield like a trophy. And now you want to play gentle alpha." His jaw clenched. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I gave you some fucking berries in the woods once." He stepped closer fast. I stood up too quickly. Stumbled. He caught me. The second his hands were on my skin, I felt it. Heat spiked. Our bond flared like lightning across my spine. I gasped, and his grip tightened, just for a second, like he couldn't help it. "I remember everything," he said. I looked up at him, trembling. "Then remember this. I will never love you." I breathed, eyes burning. His expression didn't crack, but something in his gaze broke wide open. Something raw. "You don't have to," he said. And then he let go. Just like that. I hit the floor. Hard. And he walked out. No chains. No guards. Just me, alone with my body turning against me. Alone as the blood moon rose. Later that night, I woke up writhing, soaked in sweat, my heat fully ignited. The sheets stuck to me. My hips rolled against nothing. I was whispering his name. His fucking name. And I wanted to rip my throat out for it. I slammed my head back against the floor. I'd die like this. I'd burn to death. Or worse, call for him. And mean it. Chapter 4: The Monster in the Mirror. The heat didn't feel like lust. Felt like death. Like my body was being torn apart from the inside out. Bones melting. Skin too tight. Everything on fire. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My thighs were slick with my own scent, and the air was thick with it, so dense it tasted like iron and honey and shame. I'd scratched my own neck raw, trying to stop the bond from completing itself. It didn't work. Nothing did. I'd screamed until my voice gave out. I tried holding ice to my throat, tried biting my own arm. Now I lay on the floor, half naked, shaking, every breath a broken whimper. And I knew that I couldn't survive another hour like this. I wasn't thinking when I said it. I wasn't even aware of the words coming out of my mouth. Please. Silence. Then the door opened, and he was there, Rowan. He stepped inside, slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Maybe that's what I was now. Maybe that's all I'd ever been. I tried to lift my head. My vision blurred. Everything hurt. I didn't call for you, I rasped. He didn't answer. He just stared at me, like I was both sacred and obscene. You should have stayed away. You knew this would happen. You wanted this. I whispered. No, I wanted you. Not this, he said. I laughed. A broken, ugly sound. Then leave. I will. He turned like he meant it. And I broke. Don't. He stopped. I hated him for it. I hated me more. He turned back, slowly. Eyes burning. I'm not going to touch you, he said. I crawled to my knees, trembling. Then why are you here? Because you called. I didn't mean to. But you did. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. I don't want this. I know. Then what the fuck are we doing? He took a single step forward. Then another. I could hear his heartbeat now. Smell the restraint pouring off him. You're in pain, he said. I looked up at him, tears burning hot down my face. It's your fault. I know. I reached for him without realizing it. My hand touched his chest. Solid, steady, warm. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Make it stop, I whispered. His eyes darkened. His jaw clenched. No. I blinked up at him, dazed. What? I'm not going to fuck you to stop the pain. You hate me. And I deserve that, he said. I pulled away like I'd been burned. You think this makes you good? That this is mercy? No, this is punishment. For both of us, he said. I collapsed back onto the floor, shivering, curling in on myself. I can't do this, I said. I know. I looked up at him. Then help me, please, just for this. Then never again. He stared at me for a long time. Then he knelt beside me, and everything changed. The bond flared the second he touched me. His hands were hot on my hips, careful but unyielding. My body surged toward him without permission, heat spiking so hard I sobbed. It wasn't gentle. Couldn't be. My instincts had taken over. His too. We moved like we were drowning, clawing at each other, desperate to surface. I bit him. He let me. I cursed him. He whispered my name like a prayer. I hate you, I cried into his throat. I know, I hate me too, he breathed. When it was over, I lay shaking in his arms, dazed and hollow. He held me like I was something fragile, something breakable. I'll never touch you again, he said, brushing hair from my damp face. Good, I whispered, eyes fluttering closed. But the truth was already there. I didn't hate him as much as I should, and I hated myself for it more than anything. Chapter 5: The Fracture. I woke to silence. No birds, no guards, no boots on stone. Just the slow crackle of the fire and the soft rise and fall of breath that wasn't mine. My body ached in ways I didn't have names for. Between my legs, soreness throbbed like a bruise that went all the way to the bone. My scent was everywhere, sour with after-heat, stale with shame. And he was still there, Rowan, sitting in a chair by the window, turned away from me, shirt unbuttoned. One hand resting against his temple like he hadn't moved all night. The sun was bleeding into the room. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just stared at his back and wished I could unlive every second. But I remembered it. All of it. Too well. The way my body had arched. The way I'd pulled him closer, begging. The way I cried out his name like it meant safety instead of destruction. I wanted to peel my skin off. I slowly sat up, every muscle in protest, the sheets cold against my sweat-stained skin. His voice came low, quiet. There's food. And a bath drawn. I didn't answer. He stood, I'll be gone by the time you're done. Coward, I muttered, not even sure if I wanted him to hear it. He paused in the doorway. His voice was hoarse. I was trying to give you peace. I snapped. I turned to face him, eyes sharp, throat raw. Peace? You ruined me. Do you get that? Do you understand what you did to me? What I let happen? His jaw twitched. I should have killed you when I had the chance, I said. I know. I wanted him to yell, to throw something, to do anything. But he just stood there, like he agreed with me, like he wasn't even trying to win anymore. And somehow that was worse, because he wasn't breaking me out of obsession now. He was just stepping back. He left without another word. The door clicked shut, and I was alone again. I tried to eat. I couldn't stomach more than a bite. The bathwater was lukewarm, still smelled like rose oil and pine, probably something Rowan thought I'd like. I scrubbed my skin raw, until the water turned pink and my fingernails were stained red. I washed him off me, or tried to, but the bond still hummed in my chest like an echo I couldn't silence. I remembered what it felt like to be held. Not roughly, not like a prisoner, just held. And that was what cracked me most. Because somewhere inside me, a voice whispered that maybe that part hadn't been entirely fake. And I hated myself for it. Later, I searched the room. Again, no weapons, no unlocked windows, no sharp edges. Even the mirror had been removed. They didn't want me to see myself. Smart, because I wasn't sure I wanted to either. I sat on the floor, wrapped in a clean robe, staring at nothing. And for the first time since I was dragged off the battlefield, I didn't plan an escape. Didn't sharpen my hate into a blade. I just sat there, still, numb, and whispered, "What have you done to me?" Chapter 7, The First Crack. The fever broke by morning. I woke sticky with sweat, tangled in clean sheets, the broth mug empty beside the bed. The worst of the heat was gone, but my body still felt like it had been wrung out, hung, and left to rot in the sun. The emptiness that followed wasn't relief. It was something colder, something heavier, like the silence after a scream that no one heard. He was still there, sitting on the couch, half asleep. His coat had been folded and placed over me sometime during the night. I stared at him. Rowan Blackthorne, the man who ruined me. And yet, he hadn't touched me since that night. Hadn't looked at me like I was prey. He'd sat and watched and stayed. That was what made it worse. I hated the way his patience felt like guilt, like he was trying to earn something from me. I didn't even know what. Forgiveness? I didn't have any of that left. But I had questions. One in particular had been clawing at the inside of my skull since I first remembered. The forest, the child, me, and him, cleared my throat. My voice came out low. "You were real, weren't you?" His eyes opened. "Good morning," he said instead of answering. I ignored that. "In the forest. When we were kids." He sat up slowly, eyes narrowing. "You remember?" I nodded once. "I didn't at first. I didn't connect it. Not until I saw your face in the firelight after the heat." He looked down at his hands. Said nothing. "You were bleeding, your arm was gashed open. You said you'd fallen down the ridge chasing a deer. I thought you were feral." I said. "I almost was." A pause. "You had no name," I said. "I wasn't allowed one until I proved myself in combat. Your eyes were different then. So were yours." I frowned. He looked up again, meeting my gaze. "You were kind to me even though I was a stranger," he said. I shrugged, uncomfortable. "You looked like you needed help." I did. "And now? Now what am I to you?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quiet. "You're the only thing that's ever made me feel human." My stomach twisted. I looked away. "That's fucked up." "I know. You destroyed everything, just to own a memory." I whispered. He flinched. "I didn't want to own you," he said. "Liar." He didn't deny it. He just sat there, gaze heavy with regret. "Why didn't you tell me? When you first dragged me off the battlefield?" I asked. "I thought you'd hate me more if you remembered." I let out a bitter laugh. You were right. I wanted you to see me as the boy you helped, not the man I became, he said. I looked at him, and for the first time I didn't see the general. I saw a scared, silent child bleeding in the moss, staring at me like I was the first good thing he'd ever seen. We sat in silence for a while. The fire cracked softly in the hearth. My hand brushed the edge of the coat he'd placed on me. I didn't thank him for it, but I didn't throw it off either. I don't forgive you, I said. I'm not asking you to. I don't trust you. You shouldn't. But I looked out the window. The blood moon had faded from the sky, and for the first time I felt something besides hate, confusion, wariness, maybe even the beginning of understanding. But I remember that boy, and he didn't scare me, I said. Rowan didn't speak. He just bowed his head like he'd just been handed a piece of something sacred. Chapter 9, Shatterpoint. I didn't sleep, not because I couldn't, but because I was afraid I wouldn't wake up if I did. And a sick part of me wasn't sure if that would be such a loss. 3 days. That's how long it had been since Rowan disappeared. 3 days of silence. Of pacing the room like an animal in a collapsing cage. Of sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall until I forgot what I was looking at. 3 days of remembering the look in his eyes when I said I'd kill him. He believed me, and maybe that's why he left. Maybe he wanted me to mean it. I didn't eat, didn't speak, didn't touch the water basin or the fresh clothes or the tray of untouched soup that grew cold and crusted by the hour. The only thing I touched was my father's knife, the one I'd wedged into the wall. I pulled it out on the second night, held it in my lap for hours, just held it. I used to think pain was something you felt, something sharp, immediate, physical. But that was a lie. Real pain was slow. It was the ache that never stopped, the weight of memory, the guilt of surviving, the voice in your head whispering, "You let this happen. You let him touch you. You stayed. You let him be gentle and it made you weak." I stared down at the knife, at my wrist, at the skin that bore no scars, but so many stories. And I thought, maybe this is how I take my name back. I didn't hear the door open, didn't hear the footsteps, only heard his voice when it cracked into the silence like thunder wrapped in velvet. Elias. My breath hitched. I didn't turn around. The knife pressed harder to my skin. I told you to leave me alone, I said. I did. I shouldn't have, Rowan said. I closed my eyes. Why are you here? Because I felt the bond snap tight last night, like something in you was slipping. I laughed bitterly. You want to control that too? No. I turned then, just enough to face him, just enough to let him see the blade. His entire body went still. Put it down, he said, quiet, steady. Why? So you can keep your broken toy breathing. Because you're not a toy, and I already broke you once. I won't let you do it again, he said. Tears blurred my vision. You think you get to care now? No, but I do anyway, he said. He took a step forward. I didn't move. Another step. My grip on the blade trembled. I feel disgusting, I whispered. You're not. I let you. I asked you. And now I can't even look at myself without wanting to disappear. My voice cracked. I know, he said. You don't know anything about what this feels like. What you did to me. I know exactly what I did to you, because I did it to myself first, Rowan said, and his voice finally broke. I looked up, startled. He was closer now, eyes shining, jaw clenched, hands raised like I was some fragile thing that might shatter. I wanted you so badly I destroyed everything else. I destroyed your family. I took your freedom. I tore apart every part of your world that didn't end with you beside me. He said. My throat burned. He dropped to his knees in front of me. I'm sorry, and I know that's not enough. I know you'll never look at me and feel safe. But I will never hurt you again. Even if it means watching you walk away. Even if it means losing you. I will not be your cage again, he said. I stared at him, and for the first time I saw a man on his knees. Not a general. Not a monster. Just a man. I hate you, I whispered. He nodded. You're allowed to. I dropped the knife. Not out of forgiveness. Not out of peace. But because I couldn't hold the weight of it anymore. He reached out, slow. I didn't stop him. When his arms wrapped around me, I didn't fight. When I sobbed into his chest, I didn't pull away. And when he whispered, "You're still here. You're still you," I finally let myself cry like I meant it. Chapter 10: Silent War. The next morning, the room didn't feel like a cage. It still had no locks on the doors, no windows I could escape through, and no guards I could fight off. But it didn't feel like it was closing in on me anymore, because I'd stopped running. Not because I gave up, but because my legs were too tired. And I was starting to understand that maybe standing still didn't mean surrender. Sometimes it just meant breathing. Rowan didn't sleep in the room that night. After I fell apart in his arms, after the sobbing and the shaking and the way I clung to him like a dying man in a storm, he just helped me into bed and left. No attempt to stay. No smug looks. No victory in his eyes. He just pulled the blanket up around my shoulders like I was something sacred. Or something broken he didn't want to break worse. I hadn't cried like that since the night the war started. And I hadn't woken up feeling that empty since the day it ended. The door opened mid-morning. But it wasn't him. It was a different servant. She was older, eyes tired, but kind. She placed a folded pile of clothes on the bed and gave me a nod. "Alpha Blackthorn requests your presence in the Western Garden," she said. My stomach twisted at the word Alpha. But I nodded, and didn't look her in the eye. The garden was real. I don't know what I expected. A prison courtyard with withered trees? Maybe stone paths choked by weeds? But no. It was quiet. Alive. Not tamed. Nothing here had been cut back or shaped. Wild roses tangled over black iron arches. Tall grass swayed between uneven stone steps. A single bench sat in the middle, surrounded by purple flowers I didn't know the name of. Rowan stood at the far end, sleeves rolled, hands dirty, digging. I blinked. "You garden?" I asked. He looked up. A beat passed. "I bury weapons here." I stared at him. His mouth twitched. That was a joke. I didn't laugh. But I didn't walk away either. He didn't try to move closer. He stayed by the flower bed, wiping soil off his hands. "Come sit," he said quietly, gesturing to the bench. I did. Back straight, body tense, watching him like he might suddenly turn into the monster I remembered. He didn't. He just sat on the edge of the stone path, a safe distance away. "The bond hasn't quieted yet," he said. I nodded. "I feel it. Every time you're near." "I do too." I looked away. "It makes me sick." "I understand." And then softer. "But it's not permanent. Not unless you want it to be." The words hit something I didn't know was still tender. He'd always said mine before. Spoken about fate like it was law. Held me like I was a prize. Like I owed him something. This was the first time he gave me a way out. "I want space," I said. "You'll have it. I want to speak to my people." He hesitated, then nodded. "You can. I want the door left unlocked." "It already is." I blinked. "I unlocked it the night I left. I thought maybe you'd run," he said. "Why didn't you stop me?" "Because I don't want a captive, I want a choice," he said. I looked at him. Rowan. Not a warlord. Not the boy I'd once fed berries to. Not the monster who took everything from me. Just a man. Tired. Worn down. Trying. Maybe failing. But not pretending anymore. "I still hate you," I said. His mouth twitched into the smallest, saddest smile I'd ever seen. "That's fair. And I don't know if that's ever going to change. I'm not expecting it to. But they say when an Omega carries, the bond intensifies." I looked down at my hands. He stilled. "You're pregnant?" he asked, surprised. I nodded. "It's early. I feel it. I know my body." He didn't move. Didn't reach for me. He just breathed. Then said, "You don't owe me anything." "I know. But if you want me there, if you want me to protect you, I will." I looked at him, heartbeat loud in my ears. And for the first time, I didn't feel the bond like a leash. I felt it like a thread. Still tight. Still binding. But not choking anymore. Chapter 11, Heart of the Pack. I thought I'd forgotten what it felt like to walk among my own. Turns out I hadn't. Turns out that ache, that burn in the chest when someone looks at you and sees the boy you used to be, never really dies. It just goes quiet until it hears the right voice. The meeting was arranged in a small hall off the east wing. Neutral ground, Rowan said. No soldiers. No ears in the walls. He didn't come with me. He didn't even escort me to the door. He just pressed his hand once against the small of my back and whispered, "You don't owe me anything. Then let me walk in alone." There were few of them. Survivors. All older than me. Nara, sharp-eyed, tough-jawed, second in command under my father back when he was still alpha. She stood when I entered, stiff and formal, but her eyes betrayed her. They watered. "Elias," she breathed. My throat clenched. "Don't. I'm not here for titles or prayers," I said. The others looked at me with a mixture of reverence and suspicion. They didn't know what to do with me. They saw the Omega Heir, but they also saw the silk-lined robe, the clean hair, the subtle swell of my abdomen, and they saw the bond mark, pale and healing on my neck. "You've been living with him?" Nara asked. I nodded. "You're bonded." Another nod. "You're carrying." Silence. Then, yes. The Heir turned sharp. The younger man, Riven, maybe 18, eyes too hard for someone that age, stood fast. "He took everything from us. And now he's filled you with his seed like we're supposed to celebrate it." "It wasn't a celebration," I said. "Then why are you still there? Why do you wear his name like it means anything? Why not slit his throat in his sleep like he deserves?" He spat. "I tried. I couldn't do it," I said. "Why not?" I looked him dead in the eye. Because I wasn't sure if I was doing it for the pack or just for myself. That made them go quiet. Nara finally stepped forward. "You were taken, we know. We didn't blame you for being claimed during the blood moon. But now we have to know who you are," she said. "I don't know who I am, not yet," I said. They waited, and I could feel them judging me, trying to decide if I was still theirs or if I belonged to him now. I still remember the ridge. I remember every name, every howl, every body. I remember what we lost, I said. I placed my hand on my belly. And I remember what I survived. And that's what this child is. Not a victory, not a betrayal. Survival. Riven scoffed. "You talk like he gave you a gift." "No, he didn't. He gave me pain, and blood, and ruin. But he also gave me space when I needed it. He left me alone when I wanted to die, and sat beside me when I didn't," I said. I looked at them. "Does that make him good?" "No. But it doesn't make me a traitor for breathing." Nara studied me for a long time. Then slowly, she knelt. Her head bowed low. One by one, the others followed. Even Riven. Not because they forgave me. Not because they trusted Rowan. But because they saw the truth. I had survived. And I wasn't done yet. Later, before I left, Nara touched my wrist. "He's not one of us, but if he defends you like you say, maybe there's still something left to rebuild," she said. "Maybe," I said, but I didn't promise her anything. Not yet. I found Rowan waiting in the corridor outside. He didn't ask what happened. Didn't speak at all. Just looked at me. And I didn't say a word. Chapter 12, The Ghost Father. The air shifted the second he arrived. It was like the entire house exhaled and refused to breathe again. Every servant walked faster. Eyes down. Shoulders hunched. No one spoke unless they had to. Like the walls themselves were afraid. I knew something was wrong when Rowan didn't come to dinner. Then didn't come to the garden. Then didn't return to his rooms. The next morning, I asked a steward where he was. They only said one word. Thorn. I found him in the old war chamber. Not Rowan. His father. And I didn't need anyone to introduce him. He looked like Rowan, but older, heavier, colder. Where Rowan had steel in his bones, this man had stone. Not just power. Cruelty. And Rowan stood before him, straight-backed but silent. There was blood on his lip. "Am I interrupting?" I asked. Thorn turned slowly, like someone who had never been interrupted in his life. and looked at me the way a wolf looks at a rabbit. "Ah, the Omega," he said. Rowan stepped forward fast, between us. "Rowan, leave." "No," I said. I saw the tension in his jaw, the tremble he was trying to hide. Thorn smirked. "Still protecting your little pet?" Rowan didn't flinch. "I warned you, bonding with an Omega, claiming one. You've humiliated our line." Thorn said. "He's not a claim, he's a person." Rowan said. "He's a liability." Rowan didn't move, so Thorn struck him. Hard. The crack of it echoed down to my bones. Rowan staggered back, lips splitting open. He didn't raise a hand, didn't even look surprised. And that told me everything. This wasn't new. This wasn't the first time. I stepped forward, trembling with fury. "Touch him again and I'll gut you like a dying pig." Thorn laughed. "He's still defending you. How precious." "I'm not defending him. I'm defending the boy you broke and the man who's still trying to crawl out of the wreckage," I said, my voice low. Rowan exhaled shakily. Thorn sneered. "And what are you now, little Omega? His mate? His redemption arc?" "No, I'm the heir of Moonfang. The one your son didn't destroy. The one you're too fucking late to break," I said. Thorn's eyes narrowed. "Your child will carry Blackthorn blood. Maybe, but not your legacy," I said. Later, in Rowan's quarters, he sat on the floor by the hearth, hands shaking, blood drying on his face. I sat beside him. We didn't speak for a long time. "I'm sorry you saw that," he said. "I'm not." He looked at me, startled. "You've seen every part of me. Now I've seen the part of you that made you like this," I said. He dropped his gaze. "I used to worship him even after the beatings, even after the silence. I thought, if I was strong enough I could earn something. Anything." Rowan said. "And did you?" "No. But I became him anyway." His voice cracked. I hesitated, then reached out, wiped the blood from his lip with my thumb. "I don't want to see you become that man again," I said. "I don't either." We sat in silence again, but this time we sat close. Chapter 13, Full Moon Reckoning. Rowan stayed in the war room, staring at maps like they could answer for what he'd become. But there was a shift in him, something soft but certain. A man standing at the edge of the path his father carved, finally choosing not to follow it. "I can't keep this throne, not if I want to become someone else. Someone better," he said to me one morning, voice low. So he gave it up. He called together those still loyal to him, not out of fear, but out of belief. And he told them the truth. "I'm not the alpha my father raised. I won't be. If that means losing power, so be it. But if you follow me now, you follow me into something new. Not dominance, not war, just a chance to live." They followed him. Not all, but enough. He left the stronghold before sunrise, cloak trailing in the dust. The Moonfang who remained rallied to us in the forest's edge, worn but still breathing. Rowan walked among them like a man who'd finally stepped out from his shadow. We built no banners. We marched under none. Just a promise that the pack we were building would be one worth protecting. And I believed him. For the first time, I believed him. Chapter 14, Blood for Blood. We should have had peace. Together, we carved out something new. A small valley nestled between the old war roads and the western woods. Fresh water, soft earth. Not much, but enough. Rowan didn't call himself Alpha anymore. He just led. By action. By effort. By healing. And I stayed. Not as his prisoner. Not even as his mate. But as his choice. And he was mine. Built homes instead of walls. Held councils in the garden instead of courts. The bond between us was quiet, steady, reknotted by trust, not heat. It almost felt like the future we were never allowed to imagine. Until his father found us. We saw the scouts first. Wolves at the treeline, fangs bared, red-black sigils painted on their flanks. Thorn had shifted, and so had his most devout followers. They didn't come to argue. They came to end it. Rowan stood at the edge of the valley, cloak snapping in the wind. "He won't stop," I said. "I know." But this time we fight together. Rowan answered. Chapter 15, The Bond Reforged. Thorn's army poured down the hill like a flood of snarling, snapping jaws. But we didn't run. Rowan shifted mid-step, fur black stained with ash, eyes like crimson flame. I followed, my wolf smaller, sleeker, but just as sharp. The pack behind us howled as one. The clash was brutal. Teeth and claws, bone and blood. Rowan tore through his father's guards, the strength in his limbs no longer driven by rage, but by resolve. I fought beside him, not behind, not beneath, beside. Each enemy that came for us fell before they could land a blow, until only Thorn remained. He shifted, towering over the rest. A monstrous beast, twice Rowan's size. He slammed Rowan to the ground once, twice, but Rowan rose again, bleeding, panting, but unbroken. And then I leapt. I struck Thorn's throat, drew blood, gave Rowan the opening. He didn't hesitate. He went for the heart. And this time he didn't miss. When it was done, the valley was quiet again. The survivors fled. The loyal stayed. The dead were buried beneath wildflowers and stones. Rowan didn't say a word for a full day. Then he came to me in the garden. "Are we free?" he asked. "No, but we're closer," I said. He took my hand, held it tight. "I want to make the bond again," he said. "You already did when you chose peace over power." I whispered. We marked each other that night. No ceremony, no heat, no crowd, just us, skin to skin, scent to scent. And when our wolves curled up together beneath the stars, we didn't dream of war anymore. Only of tomorrow, of rebuilding, of running free. The child was born weeks later, under a quiet dawn, with Rowan at my side and no blades at the door. He came into the world silent, wide-eyed, hand wrapped around my thumb like he already knew I was his. Rowan held him like something sacred, like something he had no words for. And in that moment, I knew. This was what we'd fought for. Not revenge, not territory, but the chance to give our son a life we never had. A future not built on blood, but on choice.